Welcome into South Philly Sauce, an Audacy original brought to you by Jack Daniels and 94 WIP. Ashlyn, Sullivan, Al Morganti here with you for the second week of hockey season ramping up. And Philadelphia right now is insane. Al, I know you went to the game last night. How was it?
It was awesome. I was with Danny Briere. Garnet Hathaway was there. Tippett was in the box. It was terrific. And they were jacked for this game. It was great seeing all the crowd. And I could just tell the players, like, we want some of this. We want bring some of this noise to the home opener, because it was a great event. And, this is early in the day of the home opener, but I'm ready to head down there because there's going to be such chaos down at the Sports Center today.
Yes, today is definitely a crazy day with the Phillies and the soccer match in the stadium, but it brings a certain energy to the home opener. And I know Jonesy was talking about going to the baseball game as well. So it's been cool out to see how all the teams are really supporting each other, especially this week.
Yeah, it really is. And, we're at the game, and Kelsey and his brother were on the big screen. I don't know if it was on TV, but it was on
TV.
Yeah,
they always showed them. Yes,
yeah, it was on
so many Taylor Swift references, which...
Yeah, nobody missed Taylor Swift, so it was fine. I'd rather have them. So it was great, and you could just feel the energy, and that's what John Tortorella was talking about when he came to Philly. They want to get that back in a hockey atmosphere to see what's going on. So it's cool today. I think the Flyers did a really cool thing, moving the game up. Kind of a really sweet time, because if you want to leave afterwards, you'll miss the traffic on the soccer and baseball, obviously, and be home in time to catch the better part of the baseball game. And they're going to leave the building open if you want to stay there and watch the game on TV and just hang right there and have a party afterwards.
I love it. Concession stands are open, so you can have a few beers and watch the Jumbotron. Not too bad. All right, Al. So we have to talk about the first week of the season. I feel like so much has happened in just 2 games. There's good, there's bad, there is ugly for the start of the season. So let's start with the good, which is the season opener against Columbus. I know we were sitting on the desk with Scott Hartnell, and we looked at each other and said, my gosh, they look fast. What's going on? This is a new team. And everything was great the first game.
Yeah, there was a lot of energy and they look quick in the game. And a lot of it's, I guess, adrenaline when you start, although it's the other team, the other team's building. They certainly should have been cool about it. But it was a real good vibe on that game in what happened and how quickly things happened, how some players kind of stepped forward just for one game. We everybody tends to treat things like football anymore. Every game is the end of the world.
Yeah.
And it was, or you're going to win the Stanley Cup after one game. But we've seen that in the last 2 years here. But you couldn't have asked for much of a better start from the Flyers. Yeah.
And you saw the guys that you wanted to see step up. Cam Atkinson and Sean Couturier with a point, and TK being TK self, getting in fights and starting fast. Was like the stars of the Flyers went out with a bang, basically.
Yeah, you want that guys that want a leadership role. Sanheim, Konechny, certainly. You want those guys to be the guys that really step up in this, and to have the veterans coming back, get a good feel for things, get comfortable back in the lineup. Because no matter how long you played, Ashlyn, it's still tough coming back when you have absences like Couturier and Atkinson had.
Right, and they were telling us no matter how hard they train, and they trained so hard. Sean Couturier is a great example of that. Going through training camp, good, but he said, the soreness after a game is something you just can't get used to. You can't get ready for that.
No, there's no such thing as replicating game.
Yeah.
You just can't happen. You can pretend. You can have, I think, Fedoruk, I think at times when somebody wanted to see if they were ready to play, he'd offer to go bang them into the boards full like a truck. but other than that, I don't think there's much you can do to replicate anything. You don't want to be the one that does that and hurts the teammate, but Fridgey's a little off.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. All right. Now we have to go to the bad. And it's bad, but it's not really that bad, because I think we all saw it coming. The second game against Ottawa, we thought it'd be a tough opponent. We didn't see the result coming, but what we did see coming was we knew young guys were going to struggle. And Emile Andre is a great example of that. He did some good, he did some bad, and this is what we're going to deal with throughout the season is young guys have a learning curve here that you're just going to have to go through, Al.
Yeah, John Tortorella said there's going to be ugly nights or days in this case, and that was one of them. And Andre, I give him credit; he got back up into the fight, if you will. But boy, he got trucked. It's just when you make that step into the NHL, even after a preseason, the speed's just remarkable. One stride in hockey is a whole lot, and when you're behind the net and they know you're a kid coming in and you're not big to begin with, well, they're going to test you and run over you. And he got run over, man, but got right back up. And that's what I think they have to figure out. Do they want to live with that at the NHL level for a while? Because there's a fine line where you want to ruin a guy's kind of confidence, but he doesn't seem a guy to me that you're going to ruin his confidence. I think I would probably, if it was me, and I'm not sure they'll do this, I would kind of say, you know what, I'll live with these mistakes and have him do them here, as long as he's in the lineup. If he's going to sit a lot, then I guess he's got to go back and try to, I don't even know how you pretend to try to get your game quicker for what's coming, because it's never going, no matter what. I mean, it's a physical league down there, but it's not nobody's coming at him quite as fast.
Right. And that's why I feel like when you hear John Tortorella talk about this, that's why he wants to keep them up in the NHL, and that's why he wants them to play, because there's no way to prepare for this. And if the organization's message is true, which we both believe it is, that this is about the youth, about the young guys, well, then they have to play and they have to stay up here and they have to make mistakes, and fans are just going to have to watch it, because that's the way that these young guys become the stars that we all hope they're going to be one day.
But they do have to play. And with, when Ristolainen comes back, that's a spot. So you can't have a kid, you can't have him sit. I don't think there's much value anymore to coming up and being around.
No.
You've got to play. It used to be, okay, be around at the end of a year. If it's at the end of a year, you have to get used to a locker room, get used to the NHL, what you're doing, how you're doing this, but not right now. So when Ristolainen comes back, it'll be interesting to me to see how that decision is made, which puts pressure on the kids right now to, like, let's show in the next few games when I'm in the lineup that I can handle this bull rush that's coming,
that they can belong. And right now there's so many questions on defense with the Flyers. You have Travis Sanheim, who is playing a ton of minutes and played great game one, made some mistakes game two that you wish you could take back. You have Cam York, you have just a lot of adjustments right now, and no Ristolainen. And yeah, you're right. What happens when he comes back? Because right now, I think Flyers are still trying to figure out what they even have on defense.
They do, but I think the Sanheim made a horrible mistake in the Ottawa game. He got, I think it was because Giroux picked his pocket and he lost the puck that he should have just eaten, or just flipped out instead of trying to make a play. But I liked what happened afterwards. His game he didn't surrender anything afterwards. He didn't panic afterwards. He didn't crawl into a hole or like say, well, that's it, I'm done for the game. No, he came back pretty strong, and that's what they have to have from him. I mean, he has to be their number one guy, and the number one guy, if he makes a mistake, has to be like a relief pitcher and say, oh well, that's gone, now let's start over again. And I thought he did that in this game. So overall, although it was a bad error, I think overall in the two games he gets pretty high marks for ice time. He certainly can eat a lot of ice time. He doesn't wear down, it doesn't look like. And this is you wonder why he wasn't in this kind of shape previously, because he really in this past summer really got bigger, stronger, more, and that leads to confidence when you've got a base like that's strong. So I think he's going to be the biggest plus that they have. I think the message finally got through. Whoever talked to him convinced him that you're gonna have to spend the entire summer in the gym. And it looks like he spent the entire summer in the gym, and the results have been terrific.
Yeah, it's noticeable. Everything about him is just a little different. I'm going to tell this story tonight in our game broadcast, but I was talking to him after practice one day, and I just kind of picked his brain of how he put on 20 pounds of muscle in 3 months. That's unreal to me. And it was cool. He said at first, he stayed a month after hockey season. He didn't rush to get out of here. He worked with the Flyers training staff for a month in Philadelphia, went every single day to the training facility. Then he had his family members saying, okay, you got to come back to Canada. So he modeled his home gym in Canada, the exact replica of the Flyers training facility. Every piece of equipment that's in Philly went to Canada so he could stick to his routine. And you could just tell how serious he took it. And even just talking to him, Al, you can attest, he's just more of a confident guy. I felt like at times last year, and maybe it was because Travis Konechny and Sanheim's lockers are right next to each other, but I almost felt like he was in the shadows of Konechny at times. And now Sanheim is like his own guy.
Yeah, the Travi are now like equals when you look at it that way in terms of team leadership. I also said during I think it was the first game, I kind of offhandedly mentioned in the broadcast that I liked the way he reacted to a penalty that he thought was unfair. He
Yeah.
was very adamant about it. And it might seem like a little thing, but I don't know that I would have seen that before.
He
I
never
think he
fought
would have,
back. Never.
yeah, waited for a coach or the captain or the whoever's got the letter on their jersey at that particular time to say something. But he yapped about it. And it's not a big thing, but to me, I haven't covered enough games. I'm like, you know what? That's a guy that he's making his feelings felt and in a way making his presence felt on the ice.
For sure. And now we kind of mentioned the ugly, but the ugly is that game 2 against Ottawa. What we both believe is not, I don't want to say inexcusable, but a little bit is they look so slow. They looked like they were skating through mud. At times it almost looked like the effort wasn't there. And it's game 2 and you're wondering, how could this happen right now?
Yeah, look to me, Ashlyn, like some of the adrenaline was gone, but I think more than anything, Couturier and Atkinson, I thought didn't have great games after the first game. And a lot of that is what we mentioned earlier, coming back after a long period of absence from the league, from playing games, it goes up and down. You're not going to have okay, here we go, I'm all set. And I think what you learn is it's not the body part that was injured that hurts afterwards. It's the other ones that you haven't trained, like Couturier's been worried about his back, Atkinson about neck or whatever. And now it's something else. Like all of a sudden, well, you know what? More than just that, my legs are not used to this. More than just that. And I think particularly with Couturier, I think it affected him in that game. He didn't look like he was up to what we hope is Couturier levels throughout the game. But the good news is it's not for either one. It's not a recurrence of the previous injuries.
Right. And still up in the air for Sean Couturier tonight if he's going to play in the home opener. He missed practice yesterday. And as a whole, Torch just said he's a little banged up, which is to be expected coming back. But when we go back to that Ottawa game, I thought Scott Laughton was great and honest in the locker room. He always is. And he said it was a problem that they weren't aggressive from the jump. And with a team like Ottawa, they didn't forecheck nearly enough. And really, they just got pushed around from the start of the game. And when you're the Flyers, Scott was saying, we have to start strong or we're going to struggle. They're on a team out where they can just fix this after one period and come back.
Yeah, because even in that game, the goaltending is good. Hart's been good. And it was like, okay, even though we got trucked in that first period at times, we're still in the game. Yeah. The problem is they don't have the skill level of Ottawa or many teams to say, you know what, in a blink of an eye, we can get back in this thing. Maybe on certain nights. But when Tippett's not rolling and Couturier's not rolling and Atkinson's not rolling, well, that you don't have that quick strike ability that comes back. So you really got to stay in it. They were in a game they were totally outplayed in for a very long time.
Yeah.
But when you just don't have that feeling like, okay, here we go, it's going to happen. You have Konechny, but there aren't that many. Like Ottawa, it was like, oh my God, every time the puck's on the stick of three other guys, Stützle or Kachuk or Tarasenko, it's like, oh boy, here we go. They don't have that luxury. No. And Tippett's been a bit scratching your head. Granted, it's only 2 games, so I'm being dramatic, but at the end of last season, he was clicking, and you talked to him all off season, and confidence is sky high and looks a little lost, Al, I think, at the start of the year. And I wonder if that's just something that comes with time. Maybe. I mean, he's got great boots, so he can fly down a wing. Yeah. So that's what will get him going. I think he may be one of those guys, Ashlyn, once he scores a pretty goal or whatever, a power forward type of goal, roaring in, that'll all come back. He'll be more aggressive at going to the net or whatever. But I think he was less than we hoped for in these first couple of games. Because at the end of last year, it was like, okay, here's one of those guys who's going to absolutely be critical. And he is critical. Mm-hmm. In addition to the not just foot speed, you're going to have to do it with the puck on your stick and be in a position to get an outlet pass and then just roar down the wing like he does. Right. And now the Flyers and all of us, we get ready for this home opener on Tuesday at 6:00. And Al, I know you caught up with Scott Laughton in the locker room about this. So let's hear from that first.
Keep coming back. What could be better? In my age, still doing hockey? It doesn't get any better. What it's all about. Yeah. What's a home opener, even though you've been through a few, what's it like?
Yeah, it's exciting. I think always to get a little bit of a clean slate on the air and have a fresh start, especially at home. I think you get to play in front of your fans and have an opportunity to get off on the right foot at home, especially, and yeah, it's exciting.
I feel like a different vibe, not from the team, but from the fan base. You see a lot of people, different attitude.
Yeah, I think so. I think bringing in Jonesy and Danny has brought that, and I think Jonesy connects with the fans really well, and kind of has a clear message for them. So going from there, having that, I think the fans have kind of bought into what's going on here, and obviously they want to win, but I think they know what's happening. So it's exciting to see a bunch of them out there on a Monday morning supporting us.
It seems like different fan attitudes toward everything. Phillies, Eagles. I mean, you've been here a bit. I've been here a long time. It just seems a lighter fan base, maybe.
Yeah, I think. Obviously, when the other sports teams are doing well, I think it helps, and having the Phillies go deep 2 years in a row brings that excitement. Having the Eagles that have been really good, the Union, the 76ers. So you have all these teams that are doing well, and the fan base has watched some good sports in the last 2 years. So it's exciting.
You said you could tear up Sealer in a fight. Is this true?
Yeah, actually, I asked him to go after practice, and he said no. So now we're here. Now I got a sippy side.
So you just heard from Scott Lawton there, who was one of our favorites to talk to in the locker room. He always gives us the time, and he's been here out for forever, and just a guy that's seen it all. And I really like the clarity he was talking about of, yes, they're coming off a poor game, second game of the season, but Scott was talking about the clarity the organization has. And he says he hasn't felt like this since back when he was drafted in 2012, that even if it's not exactly what the Flyers players want to hear, just the message that the young guys are going to play, this is going to take some time, but just them being honest and hearing, what the players want is something refreshing for him.
Yeah, it's a pretty clear message. Now, it's two messages at once, and that's what's unique about this situation. It's the message from that to the fans who were at that, we were at that practice, the open practice, which was weird to me because there were a lot of people there, and I think they were afraid of Tortorella. I felt like I was in the 7th grade in Catholic school. They're all like sitting on their hands, quiet, like, "Oh, don't say anything, or coach is going to send us in the timeout." But I think it was interesting to see that the rapt attention on what was going on. It kind of. Like, even when we watch as the media, we're all talking and joking around. These people are watching like they're going to get
They were locked
tested.
in.
They're going to get tested on this. I'm like, whoa, these people are serious.
It's hockey practice. Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But I couldn't believe it. I just know, even like playing the house hockey when I was a little kid, I couldn't even pay attention to the drills. These people are locked in solid. Yeah, oh my God. These are the Philly fans coming in to being real serious about this. But yeah, the message is twofold. One from the front office, which at times I think they're setting expectations very low. Jonesy and Briere doing the limbo so you can get lower with the expectations. But then when they start the game, the expectations go sky high. It's what's different than what the Sixers went through. The Sixers, when they had that process, when they went through that thing, it was, okay, we're going to be awful. We're not going to sell any tickets. We're going to have an empty building, and we're going to hope for a top draft pick or whatever. And the games look like that. This is different. This is like, we're going to rebuild, but you better play hard every night, or you're going to find yourself in the dressing room and you're going to get cussed out by whomever. Mm-hmm. And the team leaders aren't going to put up with it.
Yeah.
And I think what they had to avoid was what happened to, in my opinion, the Sixers. Like, okay, losing's not a big deal. It is a big deal. Even though you might lose, you still got to be mad that you lost and right. What cost you. And then I think that's the double message that's been coming across. And I think the fans pretty much have accepted it. But when you pay that money, like opening night tonight, when you paid your money to go to the game, boy, you want to see an effort. And in hockey, you can always, the value in hockey there is because it's so physical, you can see that effort. Right. Even if you're not the quickest player or whatever, you can certainly you can flat out see the effort a team's given. And in Tortorella's case, and I'm not even agree with it sometimes with the way he wants everybody to block shots. I don't know why I want Konechny blocking a shot, but it does show a determination, and it does set an agenda for a team that whatever it takes to get a point or two out of this game.
Right. He just doesn't put players on a pedestal. So they're all the same, and that means TK get in your lane and block a shot. And there were not enough of those game 2, and he mentioned that immediately in postgame.
Yeah, and he'll point that out. I've said before, no flamingos in his front lawn. Ain't nobody with a leg in their hair. You better be there to block a shot.
Definitely. And it's been cool. I can't speak to the past because I've only been here since December, but you hear, how refreshing this new leadership is. And it was cool yesterday when the Flyers had the open practice and you saw Jonesy and you saw Mr. Hilferty going up and down the stands and shaking everybody's hands and saying hello and saying thank you for being here. And I don't, at times, I think covering the Eagles over the summer, I think that's impossible to do because there's just so much fandom around the Eagles. But it was cool, I thought, to see Mr. Hilferty taking the time to do that. I don't think you get that a ton in professional sports.
No, I call it the Dan Band. It's Dan Hilferty and Danny Briere and Jonesy on drums going through and making sure that we appreciate everybody.
Yeah.
And there may not be time for that in the future. They'll always make some time for it. But right now, I think they really recognize, like, these people are in it with us, and it's happening all over Philadelphia. The Phillies have put a mirror on the crowd, and it's part of it. And the Eagles, too. You saw Kelsey at the game. And the Flyers are just going to be a part of that. The fans have become a big part of all the franchises here.
Yeah. And we were talking about it a couple of days ago. And it's funny. I just read an article in The Athletic this morning that basically echoed exactly what you were telling me, how in the past fans weren't always like this. And it's almost like fans have accepted a more patient approach and a more understanding approach. Like no more, they still might throw snowballs at Santa, but in a lesser aggressive way, it seems like.
Yeah. You don't want to put a rock in the snowball, but you can snowballs. you can still, we still got that in. You're never going to lose that edge. But I do think that there's an additional level of positivity coming out. I think the younger generation of people is like, I think they finally got through. Mostly we should cheer our team and boo the other team. That's the way it works best.
What a concept, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, tonight, Vancouver, what do you think? I mean, they're a tough team, and the Flyers are going to have the motivation of home ice. That's a real thing with a home opener, and you hope that puts them over the edge.
Yeah, I was talking to Rick Tocchet. He's a longtime Flyer here and covered him as a player. And, his message to that team is they can't get their heads really big because they kind of trucked Edmonton in a game. And they have to play as a team, not individual. They have some individual talents. Besser is a terrific talent. But I think they're going to play hard with Tocchet. And I think that's what the Flyers had better be ready for, that they're going to play a team that's coming in, they've been here a day or two, rested, come in. And Tocchet, I think, was pretty harsh on him to make sure nothing got to their head about a pretty good game 1 or whatever. So I think they're going to have a full effort. And I would expect Besser will be a problem in this game. I thought he was good in game 1 and then kind of wasn't that evident in the next one. And I think he'll have to show his stuff again in this game. So, and it's also sometimes home openers are rough for the home team. Just the ceremonies and stuff like that, and the other team coming in, take advantage of it. So we'll see what happens. But it's going to be strange, the energy from what's going on across the street, and then there's a soccer game it's going to be a wild atmosphere down.
I gotta think that carries over. Like
I gotta think so too. I mean, I gotta think it's like everybody's just all right. Let's not be the ones let's start this party right.
Yes.
Let's get the whole
of all nights,
right
nights, the nights.
Yeah.
And tonight is also the night. So we got to see the Flyers' new locker room yesterday and all the new player facilities in the Wells Fargo Center. It's excellent. And we got to sit down with Jonesy yesterday and really talk through the why. And it was cool to hear Jonesy. He's got his sweater on and his slacks on, Mr. Businessman, shaking hands, kissing babies during the tour. And he was talking about how in order to compete in free agency in the NHL right now, this is what you have to do. You have to have facilities like this to attract the big agents. And it was cool to hear him talk about that because he admitted, we're not here right now this season, but we're building these facilities for in the future when the Flyers are where they need to be. we get the big guns coming in here and saying, look what we got here in Philadelphia.
Yeah, and even not coming in, just talking to people that are here on what it's like. I mean, that locker room is sweet.
It's
I mean,
awesome.
it is really tremendous. It kind of raises your game as a journalist, just going in to be in that. But yeah, but those little things. I mean, now a fan will hear it and say, well, they're being spoiled. But when you're a free agent, you're talking, what's it like in Philadelphia? They're going to tell you, they know the team. I mean, they know who's on the team. What they don't know is, you travel first class. What's the food like on the plane? Believe it or not, I'm going to tell you, and you're going to sound like it's they're all treated like rock stars. They get like a list of things. Well, yeah, you want Wi-Fi on the plane. You want this. You want that. When I get back to the airport, in the cold, is somebody there with the snow? Believe it or not, all that stuff. And just think about it. If all things being equal, it's like I'll go there.
Yeah,
everybody loves it there. And they love Jonesy and they love Briere and they love the organization's turned it around. The locker room's terrific. The training facilities we have our own training facility. We have 2 sheets of ice. We go one side, we go the other side. So yeah, all of that really does help. And that locker room will not hurt. I mean, even college, I mean, my God, those things are palaces to try to get people to come. And in essence, that they're free agents, right? Getting recruited, coming in. So, right. I mean, that's it's important. I mean, you can't undo some things in your city at times. Like, if you're near a shore, well, we got a shore. Believe it or not, having Pine Valley right nearby is not a small issue if you're recruiting somebody. It's like, okay, have Hartnell bring them over to, well, not Hartnell, have Briere bring them over to Pine Valley and show them a good time over there. And this is what it's like living in Philly.
Yeah.
Not that Scotty wouldn't be a good, but I mean, Danny's a better player.
Yeah, he'd be there. That'd be there for sure. It is. And it happens everywhere, and it happens in every sport. I mean, if you're gonna play the game, you got to be in the game. And I remember with the Jaguars, the biggest free agency selling point was no state income tax. That was #1 on the list. And
I would like that. Yeah, you can't do much. You can't do much about that here.
No,
give them more money to make up for it, and playoff money. Okay, we're gonna go to the finals. Okay, well that'd be fine.
Yeah, but it was cool in free agency, of course, much in the future. But Jonesy was talking about the amount of players that came up to him and Danny and gave him a hug and said thank you. And just it sounds dumb and it sounds like, well, they should be appreciated, but for a player to feel appreciated goes a long way. And I think this is a good step towards that.
Oh, absolutely. You want that to happen. You don't want a situation where, they tried to get a player this year and they didn't want to come from St. Louis. You don't want that to happen. You want this to be a destination that everybody comes to. So I think they've gone a long way for that.
Yes, they are well on their way. And we are very excited about tonight, the home opener for the Flyers. Phillies game, soccer match is going to be an awesome night. So we're very excited. We're going to break this down later on this week. So thank you for listening to the newest episode of South Philly Sauce, an Audacy original presented by Jack Daniels, 94 WIP. We will see you next time.
Thanks.